You have to recognize that the only person that you can truly trust is yourself. You cannot trust your friends and family in the way that you can trust yourself.
How do you manage your confidence? You've talked about even the trauma that you've suffered from when you were younger.
It's everything. I always like to say, I say this jokingly, but it's not really a joke, it's actually true. Your parents messed you up.
Sandy, thank you so much for joining me today on the Life Algorithm podcast. Jumping straight into things, is someone born with confidence?
I believe so.
Interesting.
Here's the thing. When we're born, we don't withhold crying, right? So if a baby's upset and it wants to communicate, it's just going to let its lungs rip. So we have the confidence at birth. The problem is life, conditioning, trauma, experiences, negative reinforcement, all of those things get in the way, and they actually change the way that we behave, and they change our perception of ourselves and reduce our confidence. So you've always had it, but you lose it along the way.
Why is it that we lose it? You've talked about life experiences. Is it extremes of life experiences that make us lose it? Is it environment that stops us from being the person that we are? Is it just whatever happens in life? Like, is there extremes in that process of losing it?
All of the above. Extremes, environment, experiences. It could be something very simple. For example, little girls, as they grow up, are usually stereotyped into a behavior pattern. So you've heard a mom go, "Don't do that. Young ladies don't behave like that. Stop it." And then the boy is acting wild and the mom says nothing, right? So what ends up happening is the experience, which isn't a traumatic experience, it isn't a harsh experience, but the experience of the mom chastising the daughter for behaving inappropriately according to standards has now impacted her confidence. And it's a low-level impact, but the problem is it accumulates. And before they know it, the impact of the confidence being depressed leads to a lack of confidence. Also, other experiences. So it's not necessarily traumatic or harsh events. It could be any kind of experience that just over time forms a habit of having low confidence.
Being in a world where we're surrounded with social media, technology, and in particular, I feel like it's more of a recent phenomenon. When I say recent, maybe 10 to 15 years, we have the concept of imposter syndrome. How does someone overcome that and start to rebuild their confidence then?
I have to say, imposter syndrome is a really tough one because so many people have it. And I mean high level, hugely famous, successful, amazing people. Everyone battles with imposter syndrome. And I actually believe that if you don't have it, then there's something wrong. So I found that narcissists tend to not really have imposter syndrome the same way. Yes, they have it. It's underlying. It's the reason for their narcissism. But they don't look at it the same way because they're narcissists. While people who are truly there to do good and to help the world and to make their businesses bloom and help other people, they usually are the ones that get bogged down with imposter syndrome because they can't believe that they've achieved the success that they've come to. And so they doubt themselves. And it's not something that I believe is a bad thing necessarily to have imposter syndrome, but it is something that needs to be managed because it can in some ways hold you back.
Where does it come from? You talked about the experiences that people go through, maybe the idea of people succeeding and there's a disconnect between their success and who they believe they are. What is the root? Is it a mental trauma that someone is suffering from or bringing forward? Is it just that life experience in the moment? Or is it something that person's just imagined is happening?
It's everything. I always like to say, I say this jokingly, but it's not really a joke, it's actually true. Your parents messed you up. Everything your parents did have brought you to this point in your life that just messed you up. Now, do you blame your parents? No, because they did the best with what they knew at the time, even though some parents didn't and they did bad stuff. But let's just say they tried their best and it messed you up. It's as simple as I said earlier with the little girl saying, "Don't behave that way," right? So the experiences we have in life can impact us in different ways. And it's really not in our control of what happened to us when we were younger. But you can consciously choose to do something different as you become aware. So being aware of what's going on and how you perceive yourself and the imposter syndrome that creeps in is the first step into getting past it. But again, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just understanding that we all have it, and you have to step beyond it, and you have to be comfortable and content in what you've accomplished. And you also have to remember, because a lot of people forget all of their accomplishments. Like, I've worked with so many hugely successful people who've made millions and billions of dollars. And it's so funny when you dig into their past, all of the things that they've completely forgotten about. Oh, I forgot that. I met that person. I worked with this person. I did that. Oh, I sold my business for this one. I totally forgot. And they might be living in imposter syndrome because they've completely forgotten about all of the valuable things in their lives. So for me, what I suggest is write it all down. Keep a journal. Write down your good days, your bad days. Write it down so you have something to compare it to. Because when you're doubting yourself, when you're feeling like an imposter, when you're struggling, you can look at you can look at all of the amazing things, and you can recreate what's really valuable and important for you instantly.
You talked about conscious choices and going through trauma and people bringing that forward. You're someone that's gone through a lot in their lives. How did that shape the person?
That's an understatement.
Yeah, definitely. How did that shape you, the trauma that you suffered as a child, the relationship that you had with your parents, and then now today teaching people to overcome? How did you get through all of that?
That's a great question. And I have to say, it's been a long, tough ride. And the way I overcame it was I had enough. I was so burned out and exhausted from people. For a while, I hated people. I would say, I hate people. I don't have anything to do with people, because I had so much trauma from my parents, from my friends growing up, from my childhood friends, my friends in the university. I had trauma from relationships I had made, from businesses that I had started with people. There was so much. And when I say trauma, I know you're like, oh, Sandy, that's so cute. You had trauma. Everyone has different levels of trauma. But I can tell you one experience was when I was in my early 20s and I was working with a woman on a business that I had actually started. And there was one point in my relationship with her as a business partner where I slept with a knife under my pillow because I was afraid she was going to come in and slit my throat while I slept.
Wow.
Okay, so when I say trauma, I had a lot of it. And I developed a stutter. I had a nervous tic. I was losing weight so drastically that I looked malnourished and emaciated. And that was all from the stress and the trauma of the relationship I had with the business partner. That's just one example. There are many examples. So like I said, everyone has different levels of trauma. But what I like to impart on people is that it goes back to awareness. When you're able to recognize that the choices that you make now come from a reactive state of what you experienced in the past, it allows you to learn how to manage yourself better, how to calm your nervous system and actually take care of yourself. Self-care is a huge part of it. And then how to back to something different.
How do you unpackage and start to rebuild then? Were there practical? Did you have to be intentionally practical? Did you have to get counseling? Did you have to do almost all of the above? What are practical steps that people can go through to be able to get to feeling confident in themselves again?
Well, the first step is to recognize that you don't feel confident and something has to change. You have to hit that wall. I mentioned that earlier. For me, I hit that wall when I couldn't tolerate things anymore. I was like, I'm not putting up with this person treating me this way anymore. I'm setting my boundaries. So once you recognize that, the second step is to actually set up boundaries. And I find for most people who lack confidence, that's really hard. And the excuse that I always get is, oh, but it's my sister, it's family, it's my mom. I can't say no to them. It's my best friend, it's my partner, it's my spouse. Whoever it is, they can't say no. Yes, you can say no. And it takes practice. And it's really scary and it's really hard in the beginning. But you have to start small, baby steps, and start building your boundaries along the way. And I can tell you, you will lose friendships, you will lose relationships, but in the end, it's always worth it. When you start taking care of yourself, putting yourself first, loving yourself, Because when you have confidence and you actually have boundaries and you take care of yourself and you nurture yourself through whether it's therapy, personal development, taking different programs to make yourself more alert and aware of what's going on in your life, reading, learning to increase your intelligence level, all of those things. When you have that, you're a better person for the people that you work with, the people that you love, and the planet.
I imagine most people lose confidence or have their confidence impacted because of relationships they're in, whether it's spouses, whether it's parents. How do you manage your confidence? You've talked about even the trauma that you've suffered from when you were younger. How do you manage it in the dynamics of relationships where you feel that these are the individuals you should be able to trust the most, who should be elevating you the most, who should be providing the foundation of you being the best version of yourself? How does someone manage that when they may be in a relationship that doesn't provide that?
You have to recognize that the only person that you can truly trust is yourself. You cannot trust your friends and family in the way that you can trust yourself. And then you have to start to, again, set the boundaries and then trust your gut. Because I can tell you, I know so many people have been burned by loved ones, spouses going behind their back and doing stuff, family members stealing from them and doing things. And sometimes those things are out of your control. You don't know if the person that you're dealing with is using a substance, is having a mental imbalance. Believe it or not, something as simple as parasites. Parasites can change your mental state and make someone that you love untrustworthy. So you have to be able to trust yourself and know that you're taking action to create the life that you want, do the things that you want, and make the changes in your life that you want. And only once you've done that can you start then trusting other people. But again, it goes back to gut. You have to make sure that they're doing the same for themselves, and if it feels right.
Gut and parasites, they're two things that I think, unfortunately...
Yeah, parasites in your gut will totally mess you up. I just have to say.
How did you overcome that in your life then?
Overcome parasites in my gut?
Which, for those of who'll be listening, who probably won't know the story of, obviously you almost having your life ended by an incident of you having a parasite, which wasn't a small one either. How did you get through that?
That was a long journey. And I have to say, during that journey, I went through waves of depression, bouts with having no confidence. And keep in mind, before that, I was a confidence coach. I was teaching people how to be confident online. And then I had a parasite. This sucker was huge. It was like a tube. It was giant. And coming out of having a parasite isn't what you think. You think, okay, good, it's out. I'm safe. I'm clear. They lay eggs, and those eggs come back in 6 to 8 weeks. So I just kept getting sick, which led to the depression and all of these other things happening. And I had to go on a full self-care healing journey where I actually had to move to a state to see a specialist, to follow her instructions meticulously, take all of the supplements, take all of the food recommendations. I had to do it perfectly to purge the parasites from my body, to get the toxic heavy metals from my body out from all the medications that I had taken in the past, to heal my body in order for me to get mental clarity and physical vitality back. And it was a long journey, and it was a scary journey, and I doubted myself along the way many, many times. But I committed to making sure that I was healing myself by putting myself first. And it caused strains on my relationships. I almost broke up with my partner at the time because I had to literally put myself first. And there were times where he didn't understand that. But we're in this together. No, I can't do that. You want to go do this? I can't. I'm going to do this. And it has to be that way. You have to heal yourself. Once you're healed, you can be strong. You can be confident. You can do all of the right things. But it was definitely a very scary journey. And even to this day, I catch myself re-experiencing the fear of being sick again and not being able to be myself and confident and strong. And so I have to do things, even now, I have to follow a very strict routine. You know, you often hear how the most successful people in the world have a morning routine and a night routine. That is the most true thing I've ever heard. They absolutely do. And it's so important to have that if you want to stay confident, happy, and healthy.
How long did that period last? Because it sounded like something that, obviously impacted your loved ones, impacted yourself, and isn't going to go away overnight. How long did it
You know,
last?
it lasted, well, the first parasite that we found when we got that sucker out, from the time I got sick till the time I got treatment, was I got sick in November, parasite came out. I got treatment in March. I was free and clear and released by October.
Wow.
So that was a long time. And then that was in 2022, 2023, actually. It's 2023. Then I relapsed. And then I relapsed within 6 months because I was traveling again. I kind of like, oh no. And then so I had to reset myself. And it's taken another 5 months to get back to being awesome. And that's the thing. Self-care is the most important thing. I mean, I can't stress that enough. And it's not about obsession or self-love to the point where you only think of yourself, which ends up becoming narcissism. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about eating the best foods available for your body, avoiding sugar, because that stuff messes up your mindset. It reduces your confidence. It makes you feel insecure. It makes you feel horrible. Avoiding too many carbs that are going to increase your right? You can have insulin spikes from the carbs you eat. Rice does it. I stopped eating rice. So it's about eating the foods that are going to nourish your body and help you heal and keep you confident. And I can tell you, there's a large dialogue right now about body positivity and how people should accept and love their bodies. But one thing I've learned along this journey is your body tells you what it needs in the most obvious ways that we tend to overlook. If you're always tired and you're feeling exhausted, which can lead to depression as well, which eats away at your confidence, that's your body saying, please, please, I'm trying to tell you I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. I'm trying to tell you to stop and fix me right now. And you're not listening, which is why I need to sleep all the time. That's your body. If you're putting on a lot of weight, that's your body saying, please, please, look, look, look. I'm trying to show you because you're not seeing it. I'm trying to show you that something's wrong. You look different. You need to change something. If your joints and back and legs and knees are always hurting, that's your body going, come on, how much more pain do I have to put you in before you figure out we need some help, you need to fix yourself, right? So your body is constantly telling you things. You're forgetting things. If you're getting slurred speech, if you're losing hair, if you're getting weird rashes, all that stuff, that's not normal. The human body is a magical machine that works wonders and runs so efficiently. You're getting all that stuff, it's your body physically writing it on you to tell you something has to change. And those things kill your confidence. They kill your emotional state and your well-being. And it's just a red flag that your body is trying to communicate with you. So you got to listen.
Being from a South Asian background, we have a lot of rice. And I can vouch for the idea or the fact that whenever I eat a lot of rice, it impacts me, the lethargy, the ability to get tasks done. Something very interesting, you mentioned that certain foods make you feel less confident, certain foods probably make you feel more confident. What is your confidence food journal then, or list that you'd recommend?
Okay. This one, some people aren't going to like. So just let me preface this. I was a vegan. I was a vegetarian. I was a pescatarian. I was a chickatarian. I don't know what chickatarian is. Someone only eats chicken. Okay. So I have done all of those diets. And I always had low energy. I always had something wrong, autoimmune issues, fungus, bacteria, always something. It never went away. I had cystic acne where I was on acne medication for the majority of my life. I was on a birth control pill for over 15 years to keep my skin clear. And then that led to UTIs, kidney infections, all kinds of other infections. Like, you can't even imagine the horror story when it comes to my health, because there was always something wrong. And when I had the parasite, it just put me down the downward spiral. One of the health practitioners that I went to actually came from the vegan movement. Her father was the founder of the vegan movement. Like, he's the guy picketing on Washington, D.C. with the big signs about not killing animals. And she was the one who forced me, after not having touched meat since I was 12 years old. And by this point, I was in my 40s. She forced me to eat meat, and it completely changed my life. So the health food that I eat that keeps me energized and healthy and confident, and also I've really cracked down on my diet and lost over 15 pounds. So in kilos, I don't know, like 7 kilos around there somewhere, 8 kilos, I'm not quite sure. But that is from focusing on eating meat. And the interesting thing is, I did a test for my body to see what my body favors between like chicken, beef, pork, fish, all of those things. And the number one food is beef.
Wow.
My body loves it. And I did a test. So I've been eating eggs every morning. So about 3 to 4 eggs. And every day I was run down with no energy. I mean, struggling to get to lunch, like weak, couldn't go to the gym, couldn't power through a workout, nothing. Like, I feel like I'm dying. Okay. I switched to eating beef in the morning first thing, supercharged, power up, full the whole entire day, made it through lunch, didn't even feel like eating lunch, but forced myself because I knew I needed the calories, would eat lunch, and the lunch could be chicken, it could be eggs, it could be anything, and feeling fabulous until the next day. If I swap the beef for chicken, I feel better than eggs, but not as good as beef. So for me, for my body, my superfood is beef. But everyone is different. Some people, it might be chicken, it might be fish, it might be something else. But I can tell you the protein is so important. And as a once vegan, when I was at my sickest, you might need to reconsider it.
That's super fascinating. I'm more of a flexitarian, so I've really seen the benefits. I've probably done a lot of the things that you've talked about, and I've definitely seen the benefits of having a healthy amount of meat in your diet, but not an unhealthy amount. What are other unhealthy foods, I guess, that would impact confidence on someone's confidence journey?
Anything with sugar. Okay. Anything. I mean, some people say, oh, dates and honey are good. It's still sugar. It still spikes your insulin. Okay. So anything with sugar impacts your confidence, because you get that high and that low. You lose your sensitivity to your insulin sensitivity gets kicked off, especially if you're doing sugar every single day. Sugar once in a while, no big deal. Every now and then, I have a Thai coconut. I live in Thailand. Thai coconuts, by the way, are the sweetest, most delicious, wonderful gifts from God on the planet. They are so amazing, but they're full of sugar. So for me, I treat myself once a week to Thai coconut. Like, oh my gosh, I like worship it. I crack it some have a glass straw, put a flower on it, like make it a big ceremony, because I love them. But sugar is probably one of the worst things you can put into your body. It impacts your brain. It impacts your organs. They have linked many cancers to sugar consumption, all kinds of things, diabetes, all of it's due to sugar consumption. So I really say, you want to have a lot of confidence, cut it out. And it's hard. And I'm even talking about fruit sugars, like sugar in general. Try to get it out of your diet and just limit yourself. I like I said, once a week, maybe a coconut. If I don't have a coconut, it might be a date, a single date, or a tiny bit of honey to put in my yogurt or something. But sugar for me is a special occasion treat. And I will have one non-date honey thing, like a piece of cake or a cookie or something once a month as a special treat. But then I have to say, every time I do it, I feel really tired the next day and run down.
Interesting. You've talked about obviously self-care. You've talked about the idea of confidence. You coined the phrase, which you've trademarked, confidence catalyst. What does that mean to someone who's listening in?
Well, can you imagine a world where everyone was confident?
Can.
Just picture that for a moment. No more needy friends begging you to hang out with them because they're ornery, right? I'm lonely. No one clingy because they feel that need to have someone make them feel better. No one guilt tripping you because you chose to do one thing and they wanted you to come with them. No one making you feel bad for your choices and decisions. People feeling good and making decisions quickly. think of all those friends that you have. You're like, okay, where do you want to eat? And they're like, they don't answer because they're afraid that you're not going to like it. So they kind of on and whatever you want. And you're like, just tell me. I could eat anything, literally anything. What do you want? Whatever you want. That's a lack of confidence. So imagine if they were like, I could do some pizza. And you're like, I hadn't even thought of pizza. I love pizza. Let's do pizza. Life becomes so much easier if everyone are confident.
And that's what it is. It's just creating an environment of more confidence and more acceptance, right?
Absolutely. And think of that being passed down to your children, to your animals. Because they say animals mirror you. You ever seen dogs that do exactly what their owners do? Or cats that follow you around the house? If you're confident, your cat's confident. If you're skittish and worried about things all the time, guess what? So is your animal. They take up on your anxiety and your fears and they emulate it.
How does confidence differ for men and women? Are men more naturally confident?
I used to say yes. I used to say absolutely. If you had asked me this 5 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, men, they go to a job and they ask for a raise, they ask for stuff that just women would never ask for. But the more I've actually done this work and marketed myself and talked about confidence, the more I recognize that men are just as lacking in confidence as women are. They just don't say anything. There is a pandemic right now of men who are lonely and depressed. In the United States alone, one of the top killers of men, I actually think it's number 3 besides heart attack and stroke, things like that, is suicide. Men who are lonely and have no confidence are ending their lives. So I actually believe a lot more men on this planet have issues. And I actually do think it goes down to diet, nutrition, health, wellness, taking care of themselves. They aren't taking care of themselves. A lot of men drink from plastic bottles constantly. Think of the Gatorade, think of the sodas. If you're drinking a soda, there's plastic lining on the inside. So they're drinking from a lot of plastic. They are not so mindful about what they're consuming. So they'll go to a restaurant, order something that has a lot of bread, which they've added sugar to. They'll eat a lot of saturated fats. They're eating all of the seed oils. They're eating all of the stuff that's really, really bad. You can tell because you hear like the man bod, which is, or the dad bod. The dad bod is supposed to be the bad body of a guy, right? That's where a man has a lot of fat around his midsection, maybe a gut. All of that is his body screaming out to be helped. And it's 100% from what he's eating. So that will impact confidence as well. And the chemicals, the toxins, the things that are in the products that men are using, because men will use those products much more rapidly and quickly than women. Women now are starting to become more mindful. They want organic products and natural products. Women are more mindful when it comes to this, but men will just use whatever. And that's why also I think that their endocrine systems are disrupted. Their minds are full of plastic and other things, heavy metals, toxins. They probably have a lot of parasites. Guys don't even know about that stuff yet. So it definitely impacts the confidence. And then a lot of guys are watching their devices more than ever. They're not actively participating in sports like they used to. Think 50 years ago, guys would go and play sports. They were on teams. They would do things. They would get their energy out. Now their sports are betting, watching games, or being on their devices playing games. Blue screen, unnatural blue screen. It messes up your circadian rhythm. It does all kinds of things that actually impact your health, which significantly impact your confidence levels. It's impossible not to.
It's crazy you say that because now esports, like gaming, is labeled as sports. Imagine when we were growing up, that would be seen as absurd. And, narrative plays a big part in how ideas are constructed and shaped. You talked interestingly about some confidence habits then. What can people do, especially around social media, to manage their confidence? Are there particular habits and hacks that you'd really recommend?
Absolutely. Don't go on social media.
Interesting.
That simple. If you do, hide it. Give yourself 20 minutes a day. Look at what you want to look at. And when that alarm goes off, get off of social media. The doom scrolling is the worst thing you can do because what happens is if you linger on that post that subconsciously attacks your confidence, maybe it's someone looking better and having a better life and making more money, and you linger on it just a fraction of a second, the algorithm picks up your hesitation on that and will feed you more of it. So now you've actually curated yourself a low confidence loop that you can't get out of. So now, instead of being on it for 2 seconds, you're on it for 2 hours of constant reinforcement that you're not good enough, which impacts your confidence. Plus, you're getting all that blue light into your eyes. Most of the time it's at night. So now it's messing up our circadian rhythm. It's completely frying our brains. And your confidence, self-esteem, all of your worth, your value just starts diminishing. The hormones in your body start going down and your insulin starts going up. Your cortisol levels start going up. Now you're actually, by watching that screen, you're actually physically making yourself fatter and unhealthier, which in turn repeats the vicious cycle. So if you want to have super confidence, ultimate mega boosting confidence, do what Joe Rogan does. Don't read the comments. Don't look at social media. Do what you love and get out in nature. He lives in Texas. I think he lives on a ranch or a farm or something. He's out with nature all the time. He's hunting. He's doing sports. He's fighting with his friends. They do the sparring and all the, the MMA stuff they do. He's amazing. He's a perfect example. He's always focused on his health. What can I take now to increase my intelligence, to increase my memory, all of that stuff? He's constantly doing stuff, and he's not staring at the computer or his device.
How do you, for someone who I'm assuming uses social media to get the word out there, build on their brand, how are you only going on it for 20 minutes a day? What is the system that you've built to manage that?
For me, I choose actively, if I post something, right now I manage a bunch of social media accounts. One of my accounts is Prince Stash. He has on Instagram over 500,000 followers, okay? I have a team that helps me edit the videos and get the captions ready to get it all on there. I go on there and I publish it to his account. And then I might scroll through for about 5 minutes to see if there's some inspiration, some ideas, something that would help me with another post or future content. And then I actively get off of it. So I don't sit there for 3 hours. Now, I'm not going to say I'm perfect. And there are days where I caught myself. I'm like, oh my God, it's been 45 minutes. I've been doom scrolling and got hypnotized by the cute videos, right? But I actually will allocate time for that. I say on Sundays are my Sunday fun day. I can do whatever I want on a Sunday. Doesn't matter. I can go to the park. I can have my coconut. I can do whatever I want. It's my free day. I do not work on Sundays. And sometimes I'll give myself a little bit more time to doom scroll on Instagram. But I also make a point to specifically look for those funny videos. So I'm not watching depressing news stories. I'm not watching anything that's going to lower my self-worth. I actively seek out things that are funny, like comedy, shocking, where that cat jumps off of something and lands and runs away, those shocking videos, or something that's just entertaining and just really quality, wholesome content. And then I will watch that. And again, you got to catch yourself. So setting a timer is always good.
You talked about self-care, and I'll just come back to that briefly. What is your routine from the morning, the time that you wake up to the time that you sleep? What are the hacks and habits that have worked for you?
Well, okay, you really want to go there. Okay, so for me, the first thing when I wake up is I do not sleep in. So I have a special rule that I sleep until I wake up. The only time I have an exception to that rule is if I obviously have to be somewhere very specific, very early, like a 4 a.m. flight, and I have to have my alarm wake me up, or I will sleep all the way through. So given that that's not the case, I sleep until I wake up. My body naturally wakes me up between 7.5 to 8 hours unless I'm sick, and then I usually need 8 to 9 hours, okay? So I know naturally 7.5 to 8 hours. So I actually do have an alarm just in case I go over, but my alarm is giving me a window of a 10-hour sleep frame. I try not to sleep longer than 10. I feel yucky. But I always wake up before because it's late until I wake up. So once I wake up, even if I'm feeling a little tired, I do not go back to sleep. Because once your body woke you up, if you go back to sleep, you need an REM moment, meaning you need at least 90 minutes. And if you can't get that, it's a waste of time. You're going to be tired the rest of the day. So I get up, and then I go into the bathroom, brush my teeth, drink water right away, and I listen to meditative, relaxing music. So from Bach to Beethoven to all kinds of even deep forest, you name it. If it's spiritual, meditative, relaxing, or classical music, that's what I listen to in the morning. And then I start on my supplements that are supposed to be taken on an empty stomach, because I don't just do what some gurus do, where they just take a handful of pills and shove it down their throat, because they actually don't work as well that way. It's been proven. I take the ones that work best on an empty stomach, and then I will make like my little concoctions, do that. Then I actually get into an infrared sauna for 30 minutes at a heat that I can tolerate. So right now I'm at about 56 degrees Celsius. And then after that, I'll take a shower because I'm all super sweaty. And then I go and make myself breakfast. And I take my food-soluble supplements with my breakfast. And then after that is when I'm ready. I'm ready to start my day. Oh, one thing I left out. While I'm taking my first supplements, before I sit in the infrared sauna, I go outside and I get red light. So I go, it's usually like between 5:30 and 7:30 in the morning. So I will go out and I will wait for the sunrise to wash up in my face, and I let the red light in. So that is my general morning.
Meticulous. Fantastic. I know you just mentioned that you're managing social media accounts for, I'm assuming, people who've been in your life or you believe you can really impact. Is that where you are? Have you kind of developed on from or grown from the personal branding side of things?
You know, I still do personal branding. I mean, that's the bulk of my business. I work with entrepreneurs and executives, a lot of famous people. For example, Dave Asprey, if you've ever, do you know who he is?
Yeah.
If you've ever seen him and you've seen his brand evolve over the past year, he's one of my clients. So he looks really, really good now. So I'm very proud of that. And, but I still do that. That's the bulk of my business. From time to time, I will take one of my exceptional people that I work with, like Prince Ash, and I will help them on social media, create their social media profiles and run and manage their social media. But where I've evolved beyond that is I'm actually relaunching my own social media. I took a pause from it when I was sick, and I never really got back into it because of all my client work, but I'm getting back into that. And I'm actually starting new endeavors. So I'm actually starting a new wellness line. So beauty supplements and beauty supplies, because I'm proud to say I should think about it, 46 years old, and I have no forehead wrinkles. I know I have no Botox. So I'm very, very proud of that. And yeah, so that's the next step. And just being more entrepreneurial, starting more businesses, doing more exciting things. I'm going to launch an AI tool soon, and all kinds of things are happening.
46 years young, as we say. So now, just talking about personal branding briefly, how important is that idea of someone believing they can be of value? The idea of faking it till you make it, is that important? Or would you say, no, you have to earn your way?
You know, I think it's a combination. There are times where you will have to fake it till you make it, but you have to be very clear on what it is that you're faking. I believe that people who fake expertise, they are frauds. They shouldn't do it. And I can't tell you how many people I know who say, I'm an expert in X, Y, and Z, have millions and millions of followers, and if you actually ask them stuff, they're completely clueless, or they have to go to Google or ChatGPT to get the answers, okay? That is not the kind of fake it or make it I recommend. Yes, they've made it, they're successful, but they have holes and people are starting to figure it out, and their whole entire realm is crumbling. When you fake it until you make it means if you're terrified to be on camera, or you are insecure about some form of public persona for yourself, pretend that you are. Fake it. Pretend that you have been experienced and you've done this a lot. And if you need to emulate someone till you get the confidence, which comes from repetition, by the way, to do it over and over. But if you don't know something and you're talking about a subject that you don't really have expertise in, that's not the kind of fake it you should do. Talk about what you know. We all are great or proficient at something. So talk about that. But fake the part that you're experienced at doing it on film or however it is that you need to do it.
How does someone, because I imagine confidence gets impacted most when someone's about to public speak or speak in public. How does someone build their confidence or manage their confidence levels just before they're about to go onto stage? And any tips that you recommend?
You know, I have been on stage so many times in front of thousands and thousands of people, and I have rocked it with such extreme confidence that even I blew myself away. For example, I was in South Africa once, and we had to speak in front of like 6,000 or 7,000 people in the audience, rather. And this was before I got into my wellness stuff, right? So I had a really bad UTI, urinary tract infection. I had broken my toe the day before, so that didn't help me. I had to be on stage in heels, and I had to present in front of all of these people. And it was the first time in a while. And for some reason, I was able to pull myself together in such a way that I had such extreme confidence that I got a standing ovation. And at the end, when people were able to come up and greet, they bum rushed the stage and they actually rushed past Jim Quick, who's one of my dear friends and was on stage with me. So I just shone with confidence that day. It just comes when you are really sound in the message that you have to deliver, and you know that you're there for a greater purpose than yourself, and you're not obsessed with how you look or who you are or what you're going to say and all those things. When you're not worried about those things and you're just there to serve, meaning helping people be better and improve their lives, the confidence comes. But when you're in your head and you're worried about how you look and how you are and what's going on and what other people think and what did you say and what if you mess up and blah, 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 you will fail at the book. And I know that from personal experience. When I gave my last TEDx talk, I've given 2 now, I was so in my head, and I could say there were things they could have done differently looking back, but I allowed the organization to get into my head because they were like, you have to stay on script, you have to do it has to be perfect, you have to go here, you have to go this, you have to. And I had so many have tos that all I could think was, what if I don't? And I got on stage and I bombed epically. So I can tell you with experience, it can happen to anyone. But the most important thing is just go in there knowing that you are there to help other people. And if even one person in the audience is helped by what you have to say, then you have the confidence to do it and ride that out.
So we're going to move into our quick fire round of questions. You have to always say whatever comes to your mind once I ask the questions.
Okay.
The first one is, how much of confidence is someone wanting to help themselves?
100%. You have to want to help yourself to be confident. 100%.
How does someone recover from a setback? You just talked about bombing in this particular instance. How can someone recover quickly to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Learning from what happened and forgiving yourself.
What is the most important way that someone can manage self-care?
Actively creating a plan and following it.
Just unpackaging that slightly. Why do people not follow their own plans?
Because of lack of confidence and getting caught up in what they think is the story that they keep telling themselves. So you don't have the confidence. So you think, well, if I do this, let's go with weight loss, for example. People struggle with weight loss. Oh, I have to follow this routine. It's really tough. Well, what if I can't do it? And I can't do it, but I love these things. And their lack of confidence causes them to slip. You have to go, okay, this might take me 6 months. I'm going to follow a plan. Every day I'm going to do this, and maybe I'll give myself a reward at this point. But I'm going to have a process. In the morning, I'm going to wake up and do this step, this step, this step. I'm going to follow it, just like putting together a purse. Do you think in a factory, if they're putting together a purse, they kind of wing it? No, they go, okay, we have to make the handle. We have to have the buckles. We have to cut the pattern. We have to get the leather. We have to glue it this way. It's a very specific process. So when it comes to self-care, you have to put yourself through that exact same rigorous process to make sure that you succeed. And if you're kind of flipping half-assed, doing all like a little bit here, a little bit there, it's never going to work. So commit to something, make a plan, and do it.
How does someone commit more deeply?
They have to know what bottom is. Where is the limit where you can't tolerate it anymore? Where is that thing that makes you go, no more, never again, I can't. So know where your bottom is and know what that limit is. So if it's abuse from other people, if it's a job you can't stand, if it's the way that people are treating you, if it's the way you're treating yourself, it's the way that you look, whatever it is, you can't stand it. If you've hit that limit and you know where your bottom is, that's how you move forward.
Why have you decided to live in Thailand?
I left the United States after COVID in 2020. Well, actually, right when COVID was in the thick of it, and it was a mess there. And my partner and I decided to travel around the world. We lived in Bali for a while. We lived in the United Arab Emirates. And then I got sick. I was forced to go back to the U.S. for a while, where I had mentioned I had to live there from March until October, seeing a specialist. And after that, I just wanted to get so out of the United States because I was born in Switzerland and I love living overseas. So it just really was right for me. But we did it a little bit too much. And we lived in 8 different countries in a year. And I got tired of Airbnb surfing or hotel surfing. And I also got sick again because I realized when you're moving around that much, you get exposure to things that aren't healthy for you. For example, an Airbnb that has mold, unhealthy food, seed oils, you can't control what's in your diet. And it was making me sick. So I knew that I needed to fix something. And my partner and I decided, let's get a place to live for at least 1 year to make a decision on where it's going to be home base. And one of the countries that just kept resonating with us was Thailand. There were so many things about Thailand that we loved. And don't get me wrong, we loved so many countries. Turkey, Italy, we almost moved to Italy. We loved United Arab Emirates, Indonesia. There's so many places. But what resonated with Thailand was, first of all, Bangkok has everything. If there is an Apple store, you know that is an up-and-coming city. Apple spends 5 dedicated years of research, thorough investigation before they decide to put a store in. So that means it has good infrastructure, it has good hospitals, it has good electricity, it has good water. All of those things are key to infrastructure for Apple to put in a store. Bangkok has 3, I believe, or they're about to have 3, maybe even 4 stores, I'm not sure. So Bangkok is one of the hubs for that. Also, everything is accessible here, and the people are amazing. Thai people are some of the nicest people ever. I mean, this is called the land of smiles for a reason. Everyone smiles. They're so nice, and they just make you feel good. And I love being around Thai people. So nice. And the food. Food is amazing. Thai food is healthy, and it's flavorful, and the coconuts are the best in the world. Even though Malaysia, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, and Cambodia might argue with that, but Thailand, coconuts are divine. I have to repeat that one more time.
How much of someone's struggle is mental over physical?
For me, you can always convince yourself to do something or not do something.
Yeah.
I actually think physical is more important than mental. And here's why. Your mind, you can convince yourself, okay, I am going to actively do this thing to change my life. But you're tired, you're achy, you're run down, you're out of breath, you physically can't. You are more likely to give up than if you're energized and pumped up and you're feeling great, and then it boosts the mental. And if you're physically great, your mental clarity is already there. So physical supersedes mental any day.
Is social media destroying society?
I don't actually think it's destroying society. In a way, I believe it helps. And the reason for that is, think of all of the things that you are aware of now that we didn't know 30 years ago.
Good.
Right? Like, for example, did you know that, like the mold thing, I brought up the mold thing. One of the main ways I understood mold more clearly was from social media. People were talking about it. They were actively saying, oh my gosh, I had these symptoms and I found black mold. And I pulled apart the wall in my bathroom and it was covered in black mold. I could never see it. Then there's a guy who says, oh, if you use this special meter to detect moisture in your home, and you can actually diagnose mold before anyone else, before the machines that sift the air, right? So I actually believe that social media in a way is great in terms of being informative, giving us information that we didn't know. Like, I recently learned how to make my own yogurt, my own Greek yogurt, from an Instagram video. Come on, that's amazing. I never even would have thought to Google how to make Greek yogurt. I love Greek yogurt. I watched the video, I made it, it was perfect. I was happy. So I actually think in a way, social media is improving us. But we have to be careful of the type of social media that we consume. If you're watching videos of girls complaining about stuff all the time, or guys, talking about the horrible things they do to women, that's not going to make the world a better place. So it's about consumption. If you have kids, monitoring what they're consuming and just being mindful about how much you actually consume.
Why shouldn't someone drink from plastic bottles?
Well, just Google it. Just Google it. You'll learn. Go on Instagram and type in, go on TikTok. Why no plastic? There's so many chemicals, and BPA is just one of them. And even things that say BPA free, not really BPA free. The moment that plastic gets heated, Plus, if you're using plastic, little micro nanoparticles are coming off from everyday use. So just drinking from a bottle, you're getting little nanoparticles of plastic. They've now found plastic in almost all human organs, tissues, cells, including your brain and ovaries for women, which is important for reproduction. So you just don't want plastic. I do everything from glass. This is my cat-proof glass. See, it has a lid so my cat doesn't put her foot in it, and it has a straw so I can actually drink it. It stays clean. I have glass pitchers, right? I have everything glass. All of my refrigerated storage containers are all glass. All of my supplements, when I buy supplements, I pour them into little glass, black, like the dark glass bottles. Everything's glass. I use everything glass. And I also do not use plastic cookware. So I use wood, natural wood, and stainless steel. I don't even use the, what's that stuff? The silicone. I don't even use that. So I just use natural wood, stainless steel, glass cookware, ceramic dishware, all of that stuff as much as I can. Even my rice cooker is stainless steel ceramic.
Where's the best place you've traveled to?
The best place I traveled to is the first place I started. Do you remember where I started?
I mean,
I
Switzerland.
didn't technically travel there,
Yeah,
but I guess I traveled from the heavens there. Switzerland. I love that country. I did not grow up in that country. I grew up in the United States, but I went to Switzerland year before last with my mom, who's now, she's getting up in her late 70s. And I thought, I might never have a chance of this with my mom again. So we went together, and it is just so beautiful. The mountains, the air, the plants, the way that the buildings are, the animals, the cows, everything. It's just so beautiful. And I just enjoy it so much. The food is incredible. You could go to the regular, boring old grocery store and buy a loaf of bread, and it's going to be the most delicious thing you've ever eaten in your entire life. So I'm particularly fond of Switzerland. Yes, I was born there, but still I'm very, 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 very fond of it.
What is the confidence journal?
What is the confidence journey? It is knowing where you started and defining a path of where you're going. And then when you get there, never forgetting where you started, because you can always end up back where you started and then follow the journey again. It's a never-ending roller coaster. Just when you think you're at your peak of confidence, you can fall right back, and then you end up there again.
Where are the nicest people in the world from?
The nicest people. You're trying to get in trouble right now, right? Actually, I believe the world is full of nice people everywhere. It just depends on your timing, who you're running into. Because, like I said, I came to Thailand here because I thought the people were so lovely and so nice. And I have met the most incredible Thai people. But as I'm here, I've met the nicest people from not Thailand. So we've met people from the United States, from Europe, from South Africa. I met the nicest people from South Africa. So I believe nice people are everywhere. We just have to be able to find them. And the way we find them is by having confidence and limiting our judgment, which you need judgment for safety, but limiting it.
What's the most wholesome thing you've experienced?
The most wholesome thing? Oh, jeez. Wholesome thing. There was something recently that it was a mom playing with her child in Thailand. And it was at a very famous shopping center here. And a mom was playing with her daughter, and her daughter ran up to a panda bear that was like on a display, and she's on top of it, and they kissed the head of the panda. Going through her mind was, the germs on that panda bear, and all the kids did, how gross. But it was so wholesome, I was just gushing at the same time.
Last two questions. How did you go on the journey of charging $10,000 per session? And how does someone be in the position to have the confidence to ask what they believe they are worth?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That journey came from one day, I was working as a photographer in Los Angeles, and I had a makeup artist who was one of the best makeup artists. She was working with a lot of celebrities. And I had a client that was flying in from Washington, D.C., and I was very excited to make a good impression because he was hugely connected. So I get this makeup artist, and I think at the time I was charging nothing. I was charging like $800 for photo sessions. And All of my friends who lived in Los Angeles, some of them were actors, were like, I can't believe you're charging $800. You are insane. No one's going to pay you $800. What's wrong with you? You could get headshots here for $150 to $200. You're insane, Sandy. And I was like, it's only $800. And the tipping point for me was when this guy from Washington, D.C. came in, we did his session. He paid me my $800. And the makeup artist was charging $400 because she did his makeup and another person's makeup that had to go to an event. And he paid for that. And he tipped her another $400. I went, what the, right? I made the same as my makeup artist. Now, this isn't to diminish a makeup artist. I totally respect it. But she worked 2 hours. I worked just for that session, an hour prep before I showed up. The session was 3 hours. I had an hour cleanup, and then I had probably 6 hours of retouching. And when I realized that I made the same amount of money for someone that worked 2 hours and was like done and gone, I knew something had to change. So I was ready to change my life. So what I did was I actually signed up for a program that taught me how to do high ticket sales. And the first thing they taught me how to do was to ask for more money. I increased my prices to $3,000. And I'll never forget on the first call I had, I was on the phone and I was on a call with a woman and she goes, I explained the whole process, what I was going to do. And I was terrified. I was sweating. And I go, all right, that price. She goes, how much is it? I go, that'll be $3,000. How would you like to pay for it? Then I got quiet because I was taught, say nothing. The first person to speak loses. It took forever. It was excruciating. I was sweating. I literally had sweat dripping down my back. And I felt, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, she's just going to go, no way, are you crazy? And she goes, do you take American Express? And I gasped and went, yes, I do. Boom, first step done. The jump after that was after I started producing such quality photos that my clients kept coming back for more, or they would say, oh my God, your pictures changed my life, or I found my husband because of your pictures, or oh my God, my team says I've never had better pictures. Then I slowly, incrementally went up, 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 up until finally I got to $10,000. And it's been history from there, and prices have gone up since then.
Sandy, what's your algorithm for life?
My algorithm for life is really remembering the lessons that you've learned and forgiving yourself on the way. So if you make mistakes, you have setbacks, you fall back into a dark place, you're like, how did I get here again? I thought I had gotten past it. It's about forgiving yourself and setting yourself up for success. And the only true way that you can set yourself up for success is to be able. Always be learning every day. So if you are able, then you are always learning something, whether it is new information, a new skill, you're upgrading your existing skills, learning how to improve how you work on a specific software, how you communicate with people, or how you take care of your health, or how you work out, and you always are learning something new, even if it's something very small, something simple. If you're doing that every day, you're setting yourself up for success, and you are creating the confidence that you need, and you have that algorithm on point.
Sandy Grigsby, thank you so much.